Can we ask you about rewinding the clock a little bit here? And you have won 3 Premier Leagues.
Yep.
You've won 2 League Cups.
Yep.
But you could have won a League Cup with Arsenal. But this man was on the other team on that day. And I want to rewind the clock and take you back, because we were doing the research, weren't we? Looking at team lineups. And was Gael playing? And you said, yes, he was. So
surely this will be one of the finals that you wouldn't have believed you would have lost beforehand, right? So we're talking about the Arsenal 2011. It was Carling Cup back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was,
against Birmingham City.
Mm-hmm.
2-1 it was in the end, wasn't it? What are your recollections of that day?
You know, it's funny because now when I wouldn't say that we probably thought that we were going to win it, but I think that's a good moment, because I think that team, I remember when I signed for City, Roberto Mancini asked me, Gael, so I was putting my boots on before a training session, and he said, Gael, what Arsenal are doing? And I was like, what do you mean, boss? He said, but why are they allowing all you guys to go? He said, because you are 2 players short of dominating the next decades. And he said, if you could have a Yaya Toure or a Vincent Kompany, no one will stop you. And when he told me this, you know, when you're in the moment, in the routine, you don't really understand what it is. And I think that time we were a very talented team. We hadn't won anything yet, and we didn't. And I think there's a very thin line between experience and a young players. And for me, the difference is that when you're a young player, you are out there to kind of make a name for yourself and to show people that you are a good player. And I'm not saying it's this for everybody, but you could have within the dressing room a player, if you lose 5-3, who score a hat-trick, who will be happy because he scored a hat-trick. I think that team, Arsenal, Invincible, we knew Cherry was going to be the guy who makes you win the game. We knew that without Gilberto Silva, the team was performing, but less than when he was here. So everybody was playing, again, his position, and there were no ego situation. The aim was to win games and to move forwards. I think when you're younger, there's another element to the game, which is either a player wants to sign for a bigger club, want to get better contracts, want to start and being a start 11. And you can only do this when you think when you're young, you can only achieve those things by playing. Yeah. So, you know, for example, Bergkamp will arrive 1-on-1. We have to score the goal. Henry is here. He will slot the ball for Henry. You know, for example, I just give names like this. Maybe if you're 18 and you're 21, maybe you try your luck, and maybe you miss out the opportunity to finish the game 1-0. And I do feel that experience, for me, experience is this. Depending, like you said, you have to have the right balance between players that have already achieved and don't need to prove anything, and players that have so much hunger that you can die with them. You know, when I was young, I could play Saturday, Monday, Thursday, and Saturday again. You know, because I had the desire to just go and again. And I think that time when we lost the final, I'm not saying it's the reason, but I think when you have such a talented squad with young players, well, you just play and you just play without really thinking. I remember the first time I won the only time I won the title with Arsenal. I remember we are in Highbury and celebrating with the fan, and I can feel a hand on my shoulder, and it's Cherry, and he came and said, take it all in, enjoy it, but knows that it's very special. And in my head I was like, what are you talking about? It's my 10 months in professional football, Invincible, the youngest player to win the Premier League. I'm gonna crack it. Fast forward 8 years later and I haven't won anything. You know, but my point is that, you know, when you're young, you think it's gonna happen. You know, it's like, you know, you play football, you're getting your money every week. Eventually you will stop. If you haven't prepared, when it stops, it will hurt you. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Gael, you're brilliant. Honestly, you are. You're so good, mate, because I don't think people understand it enough or think about it enough in those terms. It's psychology. The psychology of a young player. They haven't lived that experience. They've got to look after number one first and foremost. There's so much pressure involved. When that 18-year-old goes through 1-on-1, he wants to slot it so that later that day on Match of the Day or whatever it is, he's the hero, he's the guy. It's about me.
Of
Whereas
course.
you've got
Yeah.
those old experienced players who've already done that. They've lived that moment already, possibly.
But now I'm a coach. I was with the under 21, and there's two things that I wanna say with jumping on what you just said. Sometimes I'm with the guys, and let's say you have your number 9. He's on 15 goals a season, and he comes close angle 1-on-1 with the keeper. If you slot it to number 10, the goal is open and he score. The striker tried to take a shot, he misses. So I'm asking the player, was it the right option? No, he wasn't. He should have passed. Okay, 5 minutes later, exactly the same situation. He shoots and he scores. Was it the right situation? Okay, I'll give you a third option. Your striker, 15 goals. If he scores that goal, he wins the golden ball or whatever. He slotted number 10. Number 10 misses. As a coach, you wouldn't go to your striker saying, take your chance. So it's not so much about decision. It's more about execution. Yeah. What's right and what could have been. And I think this is what you're dealing with when you're a coach, when you're a player. There are moments, and it's just about the intention is to be right. With the intention, you have results. If you don't have intention, you will have results, but eventually that would stop.
Was it frustrating for you at Arsenal, because obviously you've joined Invincible, win the league, and then Arsenal have then had this transition where the Emirates was built, and I saw a stat the other day about how much Arsene basically had made the club over, I think it was a 10-year period.
Was that at the cost of foregoing?
It was a net profit he made on transfers. But as a player, being in the club, you're top four. But was it a bit frustrating knowing that just from a timing point of view, you could have potentially won more if you were still playing at Highbury?
I don't know if you felt that, Ben, but when you're in the game, there's one. I don't have regrets in my career, but I would say if one, it would say that I never really fully understood or enjoyed the moment, because there's a game every 3 days. So sometimes you win 3-0, I don't know, Birmingham City or away or at home. It's just one game, but it is a big win. You win the Carling Cup, for example. 3 days later, you have another game, which, take you to the title race, and then another 3 days later, you have Champions League. So I never really paused myself to understand what I was achieving, So I think my career was 5% of football, and I was probably the worst of those 5%, So in life, we always chase the best. So I was always frustrated because they were better player than me. But if I had paused and I looked behind, there's 20 teams in each country and 3 divisions that pros that make me one of the very rarer to play at that level.
Yeah.
But I never really fully understood that. So to come back to your question, it's like when you're in that moment, you always feel you're going to do it. Arsenal was my team, and Arsenal was the team I wanted to finish my career. I know it sounds silly now, but at the time it was like, I know next year we're going to do it. And then the club, and then the mortgage, and then the stadium, and then the players. And then all of a sudden you realize that you don't win, and it cannot be anything else than you part of the problem, So when you start to feel that the club is shifting to a different direction, we've wanted to bring more British players, rightly so, because if you haven't won, surely you need to change something. And I was part of that team that never won anything. So I wasn't also performing perhaps the way the club was expecting me to perform. So I think the club didn't want me to leave, but they didn't want me to stay at any cost. I wasn't that kind of player. And what you realize is that when you leave and you see something newer and fresher, then there's, different way to see the game. Like I said, City opened up my eyes in a way of how to become and to be a professional player, which was totally different again. Like coaches, clubs can show you different way of, behaving and still have success. So in the moment, you don't realize that you're not doing it because you feel that, you're going to win the next game, you're going to win the next month, and you're going to win next year. And then 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So you really get frustrated when it's time to say, we stop. I go to City, and now I look back and I said, I didn't want that. I wanted to be successful with Arsenal. I wanted to give for the club. I wanted to give Arsene, the one who gave me my chance, for the colours, because like literally when you've been in a club for 8 years, you live for the club, you breathe the club, and I would have loved that. But then you realize it's time to move on. And when you move on, then, you know, my kids were born when I was in Manchester. So you start to develop different emotion towards a different club. And then you realize it's just life, you know.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed the latest episode of the Fozcast. Don't forget to give us a follow on Spotify. Up the Fozcast.